Good morning. I'd like to call the August 18th meeting of the Environmental Resource Committee to order. If we could stand and pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Good morning, Lisa.
Look what I've got for you. Finally, these magnets put in the thing out there.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Hi.
Good. How are you?
Thank you. They've been in my man cave for about 3 weeks now, so I finally let's get rid of these things. There you go. Don't let them collect dust.
No.
Okay, our first order of business is to look at the draft agenda for the meeting. Are there any amendments that need to be made?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I guess this is an amendment, I know it is to add something here about some of the work that Ms. Sieben and I as Subcommittee on Recycling have been doing since the last meeting.
Grab one from that.
Okay.
We have been fairly active in some ways, so I'd like to have that added. And also, well, I think that was it. That was the one thing.
Okay, so we'll add recycling to the new business.
And maybe this is a question. This climate change mitigation program, this just FYI or this?
Mr. Chair, if I may, Don, that was a email from the chair.
I saw
to
that.
Give to the rest of the board.
Okay.
The other thing is that I can make a note on in the agenda if you want to look at it and explore that under climate change mitigation program, phase 2. C, we can talk about it. I know we've explored the pros and cons and costs of mandatory recycling program, but we can talk about it there as we go through that.
Are we going to go
It's
through
up to the pleasure of the board, however they want to foresee.
I guess my question is, were we going to look at this today, or I did not look at it. I mean, I just didn't have time. Whatever, yeah.
Okay. We are going to have a discussion of the rules and responsibilities of the ERC.
Okay, does that?
Okay, that is a document that was adopted by the town council in December of 19.
This?
Yes. No.
Oh.
This.
I got that. Okay, I'm okay on that.
Well, wait a minute. Let me explain it to you.
Okay.
So what I did was I went, as part of this, there is a list of activities. There's a plan that the council put together. That's called the Climate Change Mitigation Program.
Okay.
Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3. And included in this program are activities that were identified for the ERC to do. And what I did was I went through that and I made a report with the status of the ERC activity in each one of those things.
Okay.
So that's what that.
Okay. Okay. Cool. I didn't understand that.
Well, we didn't have time to talk about it.
Okay.
So it's something we can talk about now.
Okay. That's fine. Okay.
So that's what that was for. So that any discussion of that will come under the agenda item 5B, I believe.
What was that under 5C?
No, 5B.
5B. Oh, okay.
And you can also add the recycling update to new business 5 or 5D if that's the pleasure of the board.
Make that item D on the agenda.
Well,
or we can do it at the next meeting. It doesn't.
I think we ought to add 5D and let you guys tell us what you've been working on. So I need a motion to do that.
Okay, well, I move that we amend to add 5D, the recycling subcommittee report.
I'll second it since I'm on the committee, I guess.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. We have no one from the public here, so we have no public comments. The next item are the ERC meeting minutes of July 21st. Candace had prepared a draft of the meeting minutes. So we're looking for comments about that. Any amendments or approval? The first amendment I would propose is that there be a signature line added for the recording secretary and the chairman.
I agree. I unfortunately, my laptop isn't working, and I'm trying to use word processing from my iPad, and it just is not. It would not allow me to go back in and amend it to add that in. I appreciate that suggestion, and it'll be there next time. We'll just have to write it in this time.
That's not a big deal.
Not a problem. No.
So we
It
can,
just wouldn't let me edit that to add it in.
You can't fight technology.
I
You cannot fight it.
tried to hit the machine, it didn't work.
Did you kick it?
No, I should have drop kicked it.
I appreciate your frustrations. I've switched from using a laptop to an iPad also.
Yeah, it's not friendly
It's
for
not
that
friendly.
use.
It's hard to type.
It will be, they're making great strides in that technology. And it won't be long before an iPad will replace laptops,
I
but
think
they're
in the
not quite
meantime,
there
I'm
yet.
going to try and get my laptop repaired and where I can go back and use the word,
Take a hammer to it.
the word processing from the Microsoft.
Are there any other amendments that need to be made to the minutes? If not, I need an approval to adopt the meeting minutes with the addition of the signature lines.
I move to do that.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Anyone opposed? No. Okay. So Lisa, just as a point of order, can we do that manually here? And
Oh, yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
Next item is new business. The first item is open meeting laws, what we can and can't do, and Lisa's going to educate us here.
Good morning. I gave you all General Statute 143-31810, which lays out open meeting laws. You all are a public body, as you are appointed by the town council, and therefore that makes your meetings public, in which you have to keep a record, minutes, like you've just done and approved, for every meeting that you do that captures the action that this board takes or this committee takes. Included in that is what constitutes an official meeting. And that's in subsection D, which shows it's a meeting, assembly, or gathering together at any time or place, or the simultaneous communication by electronic means or telephone conferencing. And that's where a lot of bodies get hung up in trying to communicate with all other committee members. If you do that simultaneously, then you have violated open meetings laws. It is appropriate for you to individually talk or communicate. As long as you are doing it individually, you are not in violation of the open meetings law. That just makes it so that everything is transparent and everything is done in the public eye, so that they can hear and see and read what this committee is doing. And as long as you stay within these provisions of this general statute, you're good.
Okay, I've been confused in the past because I have read further. It says for the purpose of conducting hearings, participating in deliberations, or voting upon or otherwise transacting the public business, and we don't do any of that stuff. So,
Well-
but there is a lot of information that we are uncovering that needs to be shared. Now I understand we can do that individually.
Correct?
And that we can't do it in mass.
Right.
Okay. Are there any other questions about this?
I guess, so for instance, an email such as John sending us this climate change program, is that something he can't do, even though we're not really discussing it or voting on it or whatever?
He
Or-
can, as long as he preferences the email by saying do not respond all or respond individually, as long as there's some kind of caveat that would make the public aware that there was no simultaneous communication
Okay.
going back and forth. It's just better if you don't, because then there's no room for anything to happen or for anybody to take offense.
I understand that. It's a little helpful since we only meet once a month. I mean, personally, some of the things he sent me I find helpful,
Mm-hmm.
But I usually don't respond. He doesn't ask for a response.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it would be
Mhm.
okay if somebody had something to disseminate ahead so we'd have it
Mm-hmm.
time to prepare.
Mhm.
As long as they put something on there like,
Yeah. Do not reply all or reply individually.
yeah,
Something to
no
that.
need for a response. This is just an FYI.
Right. Right.
Or it can be marked, could we mark it not for deliberation but for discussion at the next meeting?
You can.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a question, kind of a side question, I guess. When I was on the Brunswick Transit Board of Directors back in the day, we had to complete a conflict of interest form and submit it to Raleigh that we didn't own only where we own land and that kind of stuff. I guess we're not subject to that here.
You're
I
not.
didn't think so. But the council is.
They are.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
I appreciate this. Thank you. You know,
Mhm.
being new and having not done public
Right.
service, this is real helpful.
Right. Right. And with new committee members
Yeah.
coming on, it's just a good refresher for everybody, or the new ones that if you didn't know or weren't aware, that we are bound by North Carolina general statutes because we are a public body.
So what you're saying is we can share documents to each other, we just don't reply, and then we can talk to one person individually about something.
Right.
Outside of that,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
What
Right.
you'll be getting in the future from me are individual messages. If you have questions or want to talk about them, we can do that
Mm-hmm.
Individually.
individually. And you can have individual discussions with either one of them,
Right.
but we can't discuss it
No conference
Altogether.
calls or,
except
Right.
in these meetings.
okay.
Right.
Well, as far as conference calls, I understand. The way I did it when I was with the Council of Governments, you can have a conference call if you inform the public, give them a place to tie into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then whatever information that you do disseminate outside of the meeting, I would encourage you to include that in your meeting packet. So if you are ready to discuss something that has been disseminated, then that information would go out to the public in your agenda packet.
Well, okay. There's a lot of things I find. Like there's an organization called Recycling Partnership. Posts information about recycling on Twitter, and they have a lot of really good stories of things that they've done to promote recycling and educate the public, which is our primary purpose.
Mhm.
So I have sent those individually to Candace and Don,
Mhm.
but I don't know how to include that in a packet for a meeting.
Well, if it's not something that you're focusing in on uh, executing or asking the council for permission to move forward with it, then you wouldn't. That's just informational.
Okay,
But if it's something that you are going to discuss in great detail or in any detail at all and possibly take action on, then you're going to need to make the public aware of what documents that you're looking at that will bring you to the ultimate decision that you'll make.
okay,
Yeah, and I don't get that sense when you send me those things. I'm usually looking at that, here's some helpful information maybe, and I'll sometimes research it further because it is, especially those recycling things have been helpful.
right.
Because I'm trying to get up to speed with it.
Well, that's
You've
the
already got a lot
purpose.
of resources. Yeah,
That's the purpose. It's just background educational information.
yeah, and I don't
And
think
if
you want
you-
to put some of those 10-page documents in your meeting packet.
I'll have to say, I'm confessing, the information you've sent me in the last 2 or 3 days, I have barely looked at. I have not sat still since about Sunday. Not bad stuff, just stuff.
Right. Well, we all have.
Yeah.
And we can include that on your website page.
Yeah.
You know, if you
Right.
just want to put resources or helpful hints, helpful links, I can certainly add that
Oh,
to your
good
page.
idea. Good idea.
Now, just email me and say, add this to the website, and I'll put a section in there for you all.
Okay.
Thank
Are
you.
there other things, other questions or anything else to add to?
I appreciate her coming. It's always a good to
Yes,
have a
thank you.
refresher.
Thank you,
Always
Lisa.
good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all.
We want to do it the right way.
Absolutely.
And I need to hear stuff more than once sometimes. Just
Right.
ask my wife.
I understand. You all have a great day. Thanks so much for what you do.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
5B, discussion of Town of Sunset Beach ERC rules and responsibility. Chad, you're going to walk us
Yeah,
through this?
Mr. Chair, I know I met with the chair and vice chair late last week talking agenda and putting this together. And one of the things I wanted to put on the agenda was the official documentation that was handed down to the ERC back in 2019 when this committee was put back together.
Right.
And just put it on the agenda for y'all to look at, have that, and discuss. We're in phase 2. Some of these we have already kind of addressed, but also task y'all with these tasks, a few at a time to go forward with them. I know I've had some staff discussion, for example, on initiate discussion on long-term plan with NCDOT to raise low-lying roads beds such as Sunset Boulevard South.
Where is that again?
If you look at the climate change mitigation program
Uh-huh.
as of February 4, 2019, update phase 1 H. If you go down to phase 2, which is where we're at, 2020 through 2025, you'll look through A through J.
Okay. Gotcha.
And we can, if you look at phase 2 C, explore pros, cons, and costs of mandatory recycling program. We have looked at that, and as far as mandatory, I think we've talked with staff over the past 8-9 months or so, and mandatory it's just too cost efficient, and that's why Dawn and you and Candace have met together and kind of come up with an update on how do we educate the public, how do we do that, and with the help of the rest of the board. So I wanted to add this in there. If y'all had any questions, I'll try to answer them, if not get them answered. These can definitely be items that are put on future agendas as I work with this, and then also just have a discussion about it today amongst the board.
All right, Chad.
Can I just ask
I'm
a
gonna-
quick question?
could I-
Who prepared this? I mean, where did this document come from? The
So
Came
climate
from town
change-
council.
It's town, it's a town
Are you
council.
talking about the
The-
supplemental one or?
This climate change mitigation
Okay,
program. that
so
we
the
have.
council put this together.
Chad,
Yes.
excuse me. I need to take a 5-minute recess.
Okay,
Nature is calling.
okay. All right.
Okay.
So we'll take 5 minutes.
Um,
So the climate mitigation plan and the rules was signed by, at the time, Mayor Pro Tem Mark Benton on February 4, 2019. That's when this committee was kind of put back together. I know that 2 members of the council sat down and wrote the rules and tasked them with this. My apologies of just now getting this to you. But with 2 new members coming on and 2 old members that I've been here since I've been working for the town, I think this is a good start to get back on that. But again, I put this on the agenda for y'all to have it, to look at it, to have a discussion on today. Ask me any questions. If I don't know them, I'll try to get them answered and provide us some direction moving forward. The supplemental document that I have right here that I put with this was emailed to me by the chairman, who went through this and added his comments down to this as well. And I wanted to give you that so you can have it. So.
As I mentioned a moment ago, I have not, because of what I've been doing the last 3 or 4 days, haven't really had time to process any of this. It might be good for the committee at our next meeting to go through at least phases 1 and 2 and see where we are on some of these things. Just kind of a checklist. Like, we've done this, we're not going to do that, or set in motion, because there's a lot of information here, and I frankly have a hard time kind of gathering all at one point. And I appreciate
From my knowledge, that
Right.
is exactly what
that's
this
right.
is.
That's right, and that's good.
Now, we can have a discussion of this at the next meeting.
Right, that's where I was headed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
If anybody has any questions about it or
Cool.
additional things to be added to
Perfect.
it, then we'll put that on the
Yeah.
agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
So my question about this all looks interesting, but as far as like when the committee recommends something, I guess what process, I don't have to have an answer right now, but what would be the process? Like, let's say we decide, hey, this is a great idea, we should do X. Is there like a process that goes through within the town to say, well, that sounds good, but we're not interested, or does it turn into like a vote, or does it like actually, what teeth are put in here if we make a recommendation
So
we
if
feel strong about?
If the board was make a recommendation, it would be a recommendation to council to act on something.
Okay.
And then I would work with the chair, potentially the vice chair, and also take that, as I am the staff liaison, to take that to the council on y'all's behalf. So you do have teeth. It would be a recommendation to council on what to do. It would be put on the next available council agenda if it needs to be set a public hearing or advertised or that nature. And then council would hear, probably at least the chair would be in attendance to answer any questions directed toward the board and
Okay.
see how council acts on it moving forward.
If you look at the bottom of this page,
Okay.
in the last paragraph, it defines, to me anyway, it defines the primary purpose of the ERC to be a research and reporting body. We're supposed to research topics, report to the council. Any recommendations we make go to council.
Okay.
We can't make decisions on behalf of the town. We can't, unless we are specifically authorized by the council.
Okay.
If you recall, sometime in the recent past, I went before the council to ask for permission to work with Deeks and the DEQ, and they gave it to us. So then we have the ability to work with them as approved by council.
Okay.
This, I would add, and Chad, talking about it in this meeting is a great idea. Thank you.
Absolutely.
But I would add for everybody else's knowledge that this is a document that you can get to from the town website, specifically the section of the website for the ERC. So if you haven't done it, or you haven't done it in a while, like I haven't, you should go back through those through that website and make sure that you understand everything that's connected to that.
Yeah, I mean, two things that are on my mind. I haven't read this, so I have to go through the whole thing.
Okay.
Would be, fortunately or unfortunately, I lived in Florida for a while, and the population has grown so much that they have red tide now every year. Okay, so I was kayaking there last year, and I asked the guy, well, why is everything dead in the water? And he said the red tide's killed all the fish, and not the fish, but all the growth. Okay,
Right.
so you've got all these people moving here, right? So, and that's caused by nutrients from, or basically stuff from fertilizer all flowing into the water from all the people moving in. So if there's like a flood or a bad rainstorm, it all washes into the water.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm just giving you an example. So
Right.
I see what we do is like really, really critical to like identifying maybe a challenge or a problem, but I don't want it to turn into, I mean, growth is good, but I also don't want it to turn into like Fort Lauderdale, or St. Pete now, where they can't even go outside because of red tide. So, man, we don't have red tide here, which is great, but they're causing it to, it's a natural condition, but we're causing it to accelerate in its growth, right? So,
You're not alone in those feelings.
the other thing that let's say, for example, they do build 7,500 homes, plus then you have all the other stuff going on in Calabash, and how are they going to deal with traffic? I know we don't deal with traffic, but I'm just saying you're going to end up with like cars everywhere, garbage everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, it
Yeah,
just, it
that-
has that side
Well-
effect. And I'm not saying they shouldn't do it. I think growth's good, but you know, I don't know how that's being dealt with from an environmental perspective.
I
That
think-
might be in here, but
I can speak a little bit to the traffic situation. I was a transportation planner for the Cape Fear Rural Transportation Planning Organization for 11 and a half years. DOT is very much aware of the growth and the effects of it, and it's hard to keep up with growth because typically the roads are built after they should have been built in many cases, but they're aware of that, and they're aware of the challenges. I'll give you the Carolina-based Parkway as a prime example. That will hopefully alleviate some of the concerns, maybe cause some others. The challenge is that most of the impact of Carolina-based Parkway will be in South Carolina, but most of the development, the highway will be built in North Carolina. So, like, wait a minute, we're building this to solve a problem in Little River. So there's a lot of moving parts to this whole thing. A lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
I can update you after the meeting on how I deal with traffic, especially with the projects that I have going on. I know it's more of a bigger planning issue, but also environmentally, it does have its effects.
yeah.
You're bringing in more people, you're bringing in more cars, and I know that affects the environment in a lot of different ways. So I could get into it now, but I can definitely update you how I look at projects and how I involve DOT with traffic impacts in the area.
Yeah, there was a survey too that I received in Brunswick County about bike paths and all those kind of things. They're trying to get grants, and I don't know if anybody knew about the survey. I found it and filled it out, but I guess they're going to make future grants, investments in potential bike paths and other trails that are funded by the government rather than state government rather than local government. So,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sunset Beach does have a bike plan,
right.
and then the county incorporated that into their county plan a few years ago. I worked with that in a prior jurisdiction, and then also the council of governments worked on a regional
Mm-hmm.
bike ped plan as well. So
Anyway,
Okay,
just thoughts on that. That's all.
So for the next meeting, we've got a discussion of an update on ERC activities related to these roles and responsibilities, right?
yes, I will put
Okay.
this back on the agenda.
Now, I will say this, that back when the ERC was reconstituted, the primary activity that they envisioned for the ERC was climate change mitigation. And since that occurred in 2019, in 2020, the state of North Carolina came out with their Resilient Coastal Communities program, which, based on my understanding of that program and the fact that Sunset Beach has been given a grant to work under that program, all of the climate change mitigation activities listed in this phase 2 will get pulled into that Resilient Coastal Communities activity. So I've been waiting for something to get organized, and if there's something that the ERC needs to do as part of that Resilient Coastal Communities program, we need some feedback about that. But that's one of the reasons that I put this update together, and I think having a discussion of this next month is good. But when you look at the climate change aspects of this, you have to think about the Resilient Coastal Communities program as well, because they all get tied together.
Okay.
And if you have any questions about that, just ask me.
Okay.
Are there any other things to discuss about the rules and responsibilities? All right, I think we've beat that to death. The next item is the ERC support of the town at the Sunset at Sunset event on October 2nd. I have told Lisa I will man the booth, and I think other people have too. Steve, you volunteered, and it's up to you, Candace and Don, if they
Yeah, I'd
want
like
to
to, and as a
volunteer.
matter of fact, I thought I'd stop on the way out and tell Lisa that
Okay.
I'd like to be there, and kind of like Don, I'm thinking at least to have some resources available about recycling. So
How many people do we need to staff a booth?
I can find that out.
Yeah.
And I can definitely email that out to
Okay.
everybody to individually. To that way we don't have to wait a month on that because I know that's going to be in preparation probably with potentially D, but also next month will be September, and that will be the last meeting before that we.
I'm assuming we don't have a booth. We've got a table. Is that what it really is? I
think it's a tent.
Oh, tent.
But I mean, as far as information and educating the public.
I'm kind of wearing two hats. I'm going to jump ahead here. I have in the process of joining the Keep America Beautiful, County Keep America Beautiful committee, or whatever they call that. So I was going to get some stuff from KAB to hand out too. So I guess we're kind of a double header or two for the price of one kind of thing.
Now, I will say this, that we can only have two of us in the booth at the same time.
Right.
Because three of us.
Right.
It's public meeting.
Well, whatever. We'll figure something out, I guess.
Lisa's doing the scheduling.
I don't know.
of
Would we
people.
be violating when we're not really there talking about any ERC
I don't know.
business? We're just there
I'll definitely look into all that.
as
and give you more
volunteers.
details.
I thought that's more like whatever this said.
Well, we've been
something in
told
her-
we can't participate in webinars as more than two, and so we can't have more than two of us. I assume.
Yeah, I can look into all
So
that.
you can confirm that.
And I know it's an all-day thing, and see how we can pair up, stagger, and accomplish what we need to do.
Okay. The last new business item is recycling. So if you all want to.
Well, I guess we can tag team on this, Mr. Chair. Let's see. Ms. Sieben and I met. We did several things. Actually, we went out to the county and met with Ms. Bozeman. A couple of weeks ago now, and she was extremely helpful. Gave us some updates on what was going on, and we bounced some ideas off of her, what we were thinking about. She shot some of them down and said, "Yeah, that's a really good idea." So that's the main thing we've been doing.
Do you have some summary of that meeting?
No.
I've got some of the main things that we discussed, and some of them were just how the county manages, how they manage their waste, the household waste pickup versus the recycling that they do, and then the fact that the town does its own recycling effort that's not covered or paid for by the county. We talked about, and this is something that we might look at further, about the ability to link our ERC website about recycling with the county website, because there's all kinds of information there, and that they would be comfortable with us putting in a link to the county, so that if somebody is researching recycling in Sunset Beach, it also shifts them over and they get more information than we would have. And then she mentioned that they are going to be giving tags to GFL, who's doing does our recycling pickup, that they can put on a can. So if somebody is putting inappropriate materials in the recycling bins for the home pickup, then they will get a tag that says, hey, we don't want plastic bags or whatever the problem is. And she said that is their chief contaminant is plastic bags. So that's the basics of what we discussed.
One other thing we did, I think after Miss Stephen and I met a couple times over coffee to talk about what we're doing or had done and want to do, and I took her out to the recycling center on 904. I was out there about 3 weeks ago now, and the place was a mess. It was an embarrassment to the county. Reflect very poorly upon them because the trash had been thrown everywhere. And in fact, I think I had emailed a picture of it to Candace, and we went out there. It had been sort of cleaned up, but that's one thing we felt very bad about. Now, it's a county thing and not a town thing, obviously. The one at Ocean Isle Beach Park is much, much cleaner for whatever reason. So that's just one thing we came about. One of the things I was thinking about we might want to do, maybe I'm jumping ahead here, maybe next month or certainly the month after, is have the committees suggest consider a resolution of several items that we would like to have done to forward that to the council, to forward to the county on such things as signs on the highway identifying where the recycling centers are, because there are no signs. And I pointed out to Candace that the sign at 904 is way set off the road. You cannot read the thing from the road. I lived here for years and did not know it was out there.
Did you bring that up with Mickey?
I discussed that. I discussed that with her several times almost a year ago. Even had a conversation or two with the county commissioner for this area. It just never gained any traction. I mean,
But you didn't talk about that in your most recent meeting.
probably not. I've started talking about it, but that's fresh on my mind. And I used an example: the sign on Highway 17, what we used to call Oblivion Bypass, going toward Wilmington. There's a sign that says clearly landfill next left or something like that. That's a DOT sign, green background and white lettering that you can see. That's one of my big hot buttons, and I have to think about some other things, Candace, but that we could suggest that the council adopt a resolution to forward to the county on. So
Well,
that's kind of work in progress.
we have an established working relationship with Mickey.
Oh yeah, very
And I
much. So.
think it's quite within that relationship to send her pictures of the convenience center. I've seen pictures of the convenience center posted on Facebook because it's such a mess. And I've just told the person, send a copy to Mickey.
I may have. This is about 3 weeks ago, and I just blew a fuse over it.
Right.
And
But we can put a resolution together for council.
yeah.
But we can do it directly ourselves.
Well, I think, and frankly, Mr. Chair, I didn't gain any traction several months ago. Perhaps resolution from this committee to the council would carry a little bit more weight. I'll be glad we can wordsmith something before the next meeting and get something that this committee could look at. It's a hot button issue for me.
Okay.
Okay, as you can tell.
Well, yes, and I've been very active in social media myself, answering questions about recycling and about the convenience center and about everything. And there's a lot of people that move here and they come from areas where they did recycling before, and it's not done here on a mandatory basis. And they kind of throw up their hands about that.
Right.
So we talk about the fact that it helps keep the tax rate down. And if you have a house above a certain assessed tax value, you're actually getting a better deal with the town program than if it was
we talked about that.
Included in your taxes.
I think Candace just crunched the numbers. I'm glad you mentioned that, John. Is that one of the things I hear more than once is that Well, it all goes into the same landfill anyway. Why should I recycle? And I asked somebody, where'd you hear that? Well, my neighbor's brother told me that, and I think he would know. Well, yeah.
It's
They live in Charlotte.
Misconceptions, yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, that's what my neighbors has told me. They said they put it all in the same spot anyway.
Yeah.
and
I think you have to.
I said, and the fellow from GFL that came, or well, by video several months ago, pointed that out, 5 or 6 misconceptions. It does not go in the same place. However, they have 2 separate trucks picking the stuff up and went in the same place. Think about this a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, one of the things that comes to my mind with these misconceptions and is that we need to find a way to package all of the information, like in a website. We can put links to the Baltimore, the Brunswick County website. We can put links to the Sunoco recycling.
Yeah.
One of my neighbors who hasn't recycled, he's newly in the neighborhood. I talked to him the other day and I said, why don't you recycle? And he said, well, it all goes to the same place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said,
Well,
no, it doesn't.
I know.
So I sent him links to Brunswick County. I sent him links to Sunoco. I sent him a link to the YouTube video of the Sunoco processing. Yeah, I sent him a link to the Department of Environmental Quality recycling information. And he signed up.
Well, that's, yeah. And, you know, the other thing I hear is that I had a neighbor when I lived in Charlotte. We had recycling in Charlotte. It was free, quote unquote. And one of my neighbors said, well, it's just too much trouble to do that. And I think you've got a can here for trash, can here for recycling.
Yeah. Well, you can't help everybody.
No, you can't. You can't.
I was going to say, just hitting on what you said. So these are just I'm an IT guy, technology. So, so absolutely. I mean, first of all, I mean, this is just thoughts, okay, but I would email instead of sending everybody a form, assuming you can't go mandatory. I would have an electronic form on the website for both that does both the payment and.
I think they do.
They do.
They do.
Well, I read the document, and basically you have to fill out the document and send it in.
Mail it in. Okay.
And then, yeah, so I would have like an electronic form. There's just ideas. So where you go on the form and you click on it and say, I'm in, and then you use your credit card, you're done.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two, I agree with what you're saying, is I would have a section on the website that talks about recycling. So all the research and everything you guys put on there, they can click to it and read about it. And that way, because my neighbor in Greensboro who bought a place down here showed me the form. He goes, I just don't have time to fill out this form. It's too complicated. Anyway, my point is that if it's on, like when I do my driver's license, my taxes, everything, it's all online. So
we want something quick and easy.
exactly.
We're in a fast-paced world.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree.
Yeah. I'm the same way.
The other thing too on the research, which FYI, I mean, you hear about the plastic bags, and I was thinking about this, and what my wife does is collect all the plastic bags, and every time she goes to the grocery store, she gives them to Food Lion or Publix. They recycle all the bags.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't realize that, and they end up dumping them in the trash, and you can just take all the bags. When you go to the grocery store, you can just give it to them, and they take them all.
But we use the permanent bags ourselves. A lot of people don't.
Right.
It just kills me to see somebody walk out of the store with 12 or 15 plastic bags.
Yes. Well, I forgot them.
Like I forgot them. You saw them bringing them back to be recycled.
I'd feel better.
So these are just ideas. I mean,
and they're part of education.
It is.
Yeah, and I think if you have a website, and the other thing is at the beginning of the year, instead of sending out the form, I would email everybody and say, "This is the town of Sunset Beach. We're letting you know that it's time to."
I don't think there's an email
list
like that. Is there?
Anyway,
there's ideas, just ideas. That's all.
Well, we
Email
can put
everybody in
these.
town? I think we can you probably have a list only of the people who have kind of signed up for the town.
As far as what was your question one more time?
he was mentioning the possibility, of instead of trying to mail things out, sending it electronically, like just send an email at the beginning of the year, or when we're starting the recycling program, which we're doing right now. And I think a postcard or something went out, or a
Yeah.
letter.
Yeah.
But is there a way to email it, and then if so, then also
Yeah,
link it to that electronic form so they
don't-
get the email?
Absolutely,
I don't think the town has a blast email. I know we could probably put a link on the website. I have to ask Lisa more about the website. Also,
By the way, there's free software like MailChimp, for example,
yeah,
where you can
Well-
load everyone's email into
The town
a
has
database.
the town has an email system.
Right.
Lisa is the one that controls it. If we have messages that we want, as she said today, we can give them to her,
Right.
and she will then pass it on.
She
So
can pass them on to us, but for instance, my neighbor who doesn't recycle, how would Lisa even, and they don't get like the little newsletter that Lisa sends for the town. How would she have an email for them?
Well, that's the
So that-
challenge,
So we don't have a town database of everyone's emails.
The other thing we mentioned, I think,
Okay, well, wait a minute,
Yeah.
let me address that.
okay,
Unless they sign up on the town website
Right.
for information,
We don't have it.
we don't have it.
yeah.
Exactly.
There's no.
So it's a different kind of a project to say we have to put together, and I think there's a lot of people who would not want to be.
Well, I think we need to educate people.
Yeah.
And there's a number of ways to do that. It's not on the subject, or it's not on the topic for the agenda for discussion today, but it's been suggested to us that we go to the HOAs
Right.
and the POAs and talk about ERC things.
Mhm.
Now, Chad, I would ask for clarification about that. First of all, according to these rules and responsibilities, rereading this, we don't have the authority to do that. We need a resolution from the council.
I can look into that. Educating the public, I think, is the big push that I'm going to give y'all from staff. Is especially like the magnets that Mickey proposed to us. Potentially getting a template, having more made. That could be something that could be passed by council to be able to do that, and get you clarification. I'm sure that either I can make myself available as staff. I have that freedom to HOAs, or potentially maybe one or two of y'all as representative of the ERC to go present. And one of the things that can be done that way is if y'all are allowed to do that, vote on a board of who would be that one or two people to go do that to each HOA. But also the education that I've had in the past about similar situations about this is through the rental companies, especially with the influx. I know we've kind of had some communications about that from a former member. I don't know where those conversations picked up, left off, good or bad, so forth. But rental agencies, real estate agencies also are a great tool to be able to get information out, because all it is it could be something as simple as a one-page description on where to go to put in a packet of a welcome type thing. And that is something that it might be overlooked by some people, but there are a percentage that will be looking at it, and it's all about giving the people information and how to get it to them. And that's one of the things I know I'm going to be pushed to you to be able to do. Sunset at Sunset is another way to be able to do that, is to hand out the information, especially on recycling, and get more people signed up into the recycling program that Sunset Beach does offer.
I think when Candace and I met with Mickey the other week, I don't know how many times the word education was used over and over and over and over. I am on the board of the HOA at Windfall. Now, we're only 90 homes, so I've got an insight in there.
Yes.
Another thing, Cam down where they are,
Yes,
uh,
they're right down
yeah,
here.
that way.
Yep.
I think they manage several
I know
HOAs.
they manage Ocean Ridge.
Yeah, and a couple others. I know one of the people down there.
Mhm.
That might be an avenue because I know they've got a bunch of them in this greater area. So there are ways to do it. It's just a matter of finding the time to do it.
Okay, now
Anyway,
we need authorization
Okay.
for us to go talk
I'll
to.
get clarity on the authorization part.
Okay.
I know a guy at the Windfall HOA.
Now for the Sunset at Sunset, are we going to rely only on the information from the county to give out to people, or are we going to put an information sheet together ourselves?
I would recommend putting an information sheet, something that we can hand out to
Something
the
that
public.
has links to all of the sources of information that we
Mhm.
have.
I'd find out too, like what I would do is probably hand out like a link to a website that has all like
I don't know how hard it is to take our website and then put these links you're talking about on there. So in other words,
Lisa said it's very easy for her to do.
so to me, I personally believe like, number one, does everybody want to recycle? I think most people would. When it comes to like the payment and signing up, there's a process there. And then the third thing, like it's like, this is from talking to 3 or 4 people, and I've actually get the form in the mail. It gets in an inbox. You forget about it, and all of a sudden, oh, I need to sign it up. But if you have like an email and says, hey, sign up period now. Look at this website. Here's all the information about it. They can look at it, click on it, and order it right there. I think it just streamlines everything. And if you have to have, I look at that as education. You're still processing the same transaction. You're just doing it through like electronic means.
One of the things about Sunset, I've never been there, but I suspect it's like the other ones at Holden and Oyster Festival. You have a lot of non-residential people. There are people from South Carolina, people that don't own property here.
right.
So but
Right.
yeah.
But if you like,
Okay.
go ahead. Yeah, I agree. I
We-
agree.
We'll be here all day.
That's right.
Yeah,
Um,
understood. Yeah.
Looks like.
Do you all want to put a information sheet together? If you'd, I'll be happy to do it with your review and inputs.
What are your thoughts?
Well, we can take a stab at it. What do you think?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind to do that.
Yeah.
And then maybe bring it to our to the September meeting,
Yeah.
and maybe we could send a copy through Lisa.
If you
Ahead of time.
if you will get it to me,
Mhm.
I can put it on the agenda for approval by the board of what
Okay.
the information
When
sheet
does the
will
board
look
meet? When would they meet?
like. If you can get it to me and get it on the next agenda for ERC,
Which would be
which
I don't
would
think they have
be,
time to get it done.
let's see here, they meet on the 7th. Excuse me. They'll meet on September 7th because the 6th is, and then they'll meet on the 21st. If this board meets, we should meet on the 15th
Right.
of September.
right.
So I can, if you get me that information sheet, the board approves it at the next meeting, I can get it on the agenda for the 21st.
So when the board approves, you mean this board?
Yeah, the
Okay.
board will have to approve.
Okay.
And
Then
then
we would have to
recommend
approve it on
approval.
the 15th.
The council.
Then the council approve it on the 21st.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
can double check that process if
Okay.
it's something council will need to approve.
Well,
Can you get it printed, or so that we
Um,
have it to hand out at the Sunset at Sunset?
Yeah, I can work out that. Yeah.
okay.
So
I'm imagining we're going to come up with something that's pretty simple, one page. so
absolutely.
people
I would
will actually
recommend that.
read it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Very, very, very simple.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very short and simple.
I don't know how much, and again, I'm not sure. I have to go look on the website. How much information do you have? Like when you say environmental resource board or committee, if we have all of our stuff on there, that
There's like
people
a
should.
there's a sub element in there, so you can look up like
Yeah.
recycling And you can look up the schedules for the pickups and stuff like
Right,
that.
right.
My other question would be is
Is that something we have to have approval on to add to the website?
I can look. I can check into
If we,
it.
no, I don't think we need council approval.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to break.
Lisa screens that stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing I will look into is probably need to work with, as Candace and Dawn prepare that one pager, is potentially how many copies you want. If it's a couple hundred, I could probably print them here.
Yeah.
But it's 1,000 or so, probably need to quote maybe through something like that and see what the cost would be, because I could also take that to council and
Yeah.
see if they would fund it.
Hard to
Maybe we
say.
can meet with Lisa just to get an idea how
Yeah.
many people actually stop by the town booth.
If it's a rainy day, maybe nobody. If it's a real nice day, maybe a bunch. If it's a
Right.
hurricane coming in,
Yeah.
you know.
But they
Yeah, I
probably know
think
from
that-
experience, because there's other things that they have
Yeah.
at that booth. so.
Right, the staff must have some guidelines they follow
Yeah.
for how many materials they have for handout. Okay, that would be good
Good.
to do.
Okay.
Is there any other thing we need to talk about with recycling? Do you have any other things to share with us?
I think that's the bulk of
I
what
think
we've
that's
been.
mainly.
Now, I've been following this recycling partnership on Twitter,
Mhm.
and they have some really good ideas that they also have a website, so it doesn't have to be for Twitter, but they have a lot of interesting things that they've done. They don't do it themselves. They more or less share information about things that are done by different places
So it's
that have been educational about recycling. They
so
don't
it's a-
necessarily talk about the results.
this is called the Recycling Partnership on Twitter.
Yes.
Okay. I Twitter for me is mainly sports, but I could add that.
Well, the other one I would suggest you look at on Twitter is the North Carolina DEQ,
Yeah.
because they do a lot of announcements about things that are
Okay.
informative.
Okay.
I would like to understand too, like, and I've heard about it, but you know, and we don't have to have it answered now, but like in the next meeting, we can talk about what was the financial. I mean, how much does it actually cost if everyone in the county had a can or city had a can?
Well,
And
I
We've been
think-
told that it would add 2.4 cents. To the
That's what
tax
Mickey
rate.
It would-
confirmed, and it would cost over $400,000 if the town picked up that cost.
So roughly 2 cent.
yeah.
It'll be a 2 cent tax increase, and I know the council was not in favor of wanting to increase any kind of tax or have a tax increase at all.
yeah, so like in Greensboro, they add it to the sewer rate. I don't know if they've explored it. My only thing is that I think you're going to get if everybody's has a can, then everyone's going to recycle, or most people would, just like anywhere else. So I don't know how you undo that, but that's probably the most optimal thing to do.
It looks like when you look at the history of the ERC that they've brought
Brought it up.
mandatory recycling to
Yeah,
the council
yeah,
several times,
okay.
and they keep saying no.
Yeah, I understand. Okay.
No, do it.
I don't know. I mean, I totally understand where you're
And
going.
it may come somewhere down the road. You may have council that's more open to that, or general public as more people move in. It's going to become more of a problem as the town grows. So
I will say this, that Ocean Isle Beach has recently adopted mandatory recycling without raising taxes. And they did that because of growth in their tax base.
yeah,
Yeah,
And
that's a good point.
I would hope
so
that
it may change for us.
I would hope that would change in Sunset Beach.
But you're saying it's $120 on the island and $90 on the mainland.
Right.
So that's
Well-
like two gases, 2 tanks of gas. to
I
do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like it's a
Not
ton of money.
everybody-
I like your idea of finding a way to electronically sign up and
Yes.
pay.
Yes, you
Because
get more
I
people.
think a lot of people,
Yes, I agree.
it's not a big deal if it's easy.
If it's easy, there's a
But
two-step process. You
some
need
of
to
my
make it
young
one step.
relatives don't even have checking accounts. It's like, what is that? They just do everything electronically.
Yes, I would do.
I think the electronic way to do it, because they see it, they get an email, they go to the website, and I never used the website, and all of a sudden I started using it like 2 years ago, and there's a tremendous amount of good information on there.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, not everybody's like you.
Sure, sure.
That's a challenge. I know Justin or Ocean pretty well. May give him a call. In fact, we had talked about going over there
Yeah.
someday.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
just,
that might
It's
still
not
be a
that
good
far.
idea.
Yeah.
Let's say you pick
Okay.
up 30% more than what you have now by the website. You
Yeah.
never know.
Mhm.
Right.
Anyway,
If that's possible to do, I think Lisa would, I mean, if that's something the town wants to do, I think Lisa would have had it done. already.
well, I think I'm putting words. Miss Stephen and I will probably try to meet next week
Mhm.
on this and see where we
Yeah.
are, what we need to do.
Yeah, especially, well, if we're going to get together a one
Yeah,
pager
Yeah,
for him before,
that's coming.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty quick.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Are we done with recycling?
I hope so.
Okay. All right, number 6, staff comments.
My only staff comment would be going off of what Mrs. Candace just said about the one pager with us meeting on September 15th. I would look at putting an agenda packet out for you guys by sometime between the 8th and the 10th. So I probably need that document by September the 8th.
Okay.
And I'm free to meet with both of y'all in between them as well.
See, is that the 8th? Is that around a Wednesday or so?
That's a Wednesday.
Okay.
And if it needs to be the 10th, I can work with y'all on that as well.
Well, like I said, Miss Candace and I were going to try to meet really, really soon
Okay.
on this to get the ball rolling.
yeah, I should be able to do it next week without trouble.
Now,
Okay.
are you taking over the agenda preparation?
I'll meet with y'all a week before it, but yeah, I'll put
We'll
together.
continue to
Yeah, I
meet
will.
with you and talk about that.
Correct.
Okay.
Wouldn't
Yep.
like to take over doing the minutes, would you?
No.
I tried.
All right, we have no public here for comments. I will say if anybody is watching us and they have comments or questions, we can be reached by email. So all that information's on the town website. Last item is a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second,
I second it.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
We are adjourned.